Good morning and welcome to today's 10th Annual Distinguished Gallery of Success. Today we have the honor of inducting 5 Amherst alumni that have excelled after their high school graduation. The Gallery of Success was created to honor the alumni of Marion Steele High School who have had great success after their high school. During today's ceremony, you will hear the inductees and achievements from the inductees themselves. Now we'd like to introduce Michelle Lico, Vice President of the sophomore class, to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the Star-Spangled Banner? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the 10th Annual Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. We are here to honor past graduates of Amherst High School who have achieved many goals and made major contributions to society. The Amherst alumni being inducted today are here for many reasons. They may be here because of their involvement in the community, their dedication in their work, or just because of their own personal success. At this time, I'd like to recognize the administrators of Amherst schools. Mr. Dolmage, Superintendent. Mr. Logar, Assistant Superintendent. Mr. Weirsom, Director of Administrative Services. Mr. Angelani, Principal at Power School. Mr. Trent, Principal at Harris School. Mr. Demko, Principal at Shoup School. Mr. Marley, Principal at Nord Junior High School. Mr. Roth, Assistant Principal at Amherst High School. Mrs. Von Gutten, Associate Principal at Amherst High School, and Mr. Boynton, Principal at Amherst High School. We're also pleased to have with us today Mrs. Musgrave, President of the Board of Education, and Mrs. Friedman, Vice President of the Board of Education. Thank you. Each year, we have a number of retired teachers who come and join us on this special day. Teachers, would you please stand and introduce yourselves? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, thank you. The dedication of you teachers, past and present, was the beginning of success for our inductees. Also with us today are several inductees of previous years. Will you please stand when I call your name? Dr. Roy Schaefer, Marilyn Jenny, Jack Wilhelm. June Alexander. Okay, thanks. If there are any past inductees who I have not mentioned, please stand and introduce yourselves. Well, on behalf of Student Council, I'd like to welcome you again to the Gallery of Success and invite you to the homecoming game tomorrow night, where we will recognize the inductees again.
We missed one. Will you stand, please? We have another? Would you please stand for the alma mater?
Mr. Petersen, you are correct. They are excellent. Honored guests, faculty, retired faculty, ladies and gentlemen, and especially the students of Amherst Steele High School, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 10th Annual Alumni Gallery of Success. 10 years ago, when we began planning this event, little did we know how important this program would become to our school, our system, our school system, and to our community. It's hard to believe 10 years have passed. As I woke up this morning, I was thinking back, Mrs. Alexander and Mr. Dolmage and I talking about starting this, and our first induction, we didn't know if anyone would show up. And it's gone on, and it's been an outstanding success, and it's become a very proud day for our school system and for our community. We're proud of our school, and we're proud of this program, and we are happy that you are here today to share it with us. At this time, I would like to thank those people who are responsible for organizing today's program, the Steele High School Student Council and their advisor, Mrs. Von Gutten, and their president, Rick Schneider. I'd also like to thank the Parents and Teachers for Steele organization and their president, Mrs. Karen Pecora, the Amherst Concert Choir and their director, Mr. Alan Petersen, and Miss Judy Alexander, our public relations person, and her staff. Without the help of these people, today's program would not be possible. To our honored guests, I want to thank you for taking time to be part of our program. I want you to understand that we have two goals for today's program. Our first goal is to recognize you and people like you who have graduated from the Amherst school system and have gone on to make a difference in this world. You are joining a distinguished group. Over the past 10 years, the group includes authors, religious leaders, military leaders, historians, leaders in education, government, science, medicine, and business. Your achievements add to the outstanding reputation of the Amherst schools. Our second goal is to use you, and many of you are teachers in some way or another, and our goal here is for you to teach our students a lesson. Your objective today is to help these students in the audience understand that they can graduate from Steele High School and they can make a difference in this world also. That they can be a successful computer analyst, a successful critical care expert, a successful professor of foreign language, or a successful professor of dance, or a successful dentist, or anything else that they set their mind to. I know you'll be successful teaching your lesson today. I know that because you cared enough to be here. I also know that because you are part of our pride and you're part of our tradition. I want to thank you, and may God bless you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Dave Voss, Senior Class President, who is inducting Dr. Albert Pecora.
Today, I have the distinct honor of inducting Dr. Albert Pecora into the Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. Dr. Pecora graduated from Marion, Steele in 1956. While he attended Amherst High School, he was president of his senior class, as well as being a member of the football team. He was also very involved in drama club. Upon graduating from Amherst, Dr. Pecora attended Ohio University, John Carroll University, and Georgetown School of Dentistry. After graduating from Georgetown in 1964, he returned to Amherst, where he has been practicing dentistry for 31 years. Besides dentistry, Dr. Pecora enjoys participating in many other diverse activities. He is an accomplished pianist and organist who continues his studies with a retired teacher from the Oberlin Conservatory of Music. Also, Dr. Pecora is a talented amateur chef. He also enjoys traveling in his spare time and has been throughout Europe and Central America. Dr. Pecora donates his time and energy for the city of Wakeman, where he lives. He designed, constructed, and personally maintains a garden shrine to the St. Mary's Church in Wakeman. Dr. Pecora's fondness of nature has led him into the field of ecological restoration. In 1980, he purchased 100 acres of timberland and cropland in Clarksville Township. When he purchased the land, it was sterile. There were no insects, mice, or any other sign of life, and the soil was saturated with herbicides. 15 years later, Dr. Pecora has restored the land to a place for life and natural cycles. And he is currently in the process of cataloging all of the species of animals, insects, and plants that are on his land. Eventually, he plans to donate this property to the Nature Conservancy. Dr. Pecora resides in Wakeman and is married to the former Sandra Goes. He is also the father of 5 children. He believes in strong family values and tries to set a positive example for his children. Dr. Pecora also wants to continue his traveling and expand his knowledge of nature. He has proven through a lifetime of work, achievement, and success to be a man who truly cares about our world, and through his efforts he has shown himself to be someone who is trying to make our world a better place in which to live. At this time, I would like to present this plaque to Dr. Pecora and induct him into the Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
Thank you very much. I was going to just say a short thank you and goodbye, but after talking to David yesterday, I decided to make a long speech. So here it is. First of all, I want to comment on the choir. It is really outstanding. I thought we had a good choir in 1956, but I think everything gets better and better. Also, it's nice to be in the close proximity to a Steinway and Finney Chapel. Will be about as close as I get to it. I've had a lot of good things happen to me in my lifetime, but this ranks at the top. It really does. When Andy Warhol, the artist, said everyone should have 15 minutes of fame, I assumed my 15 minutes would be when someone read my obituary. But this affair today preempted that by, I hope, a lot of years. In my case, my successes are shared with others. First of all, I had very loving, kind parents who made sure that I had everything. And growing up, it was taken for granted that I would have an education. That was a given. It was axiomatic. I was going on to college. Not too long ago, I heard a story when I was young. I needed a pair of shoes, and my father needed a pair of work shoes at the same time. And I got mine first. I never realized that, things were that way because I had everything. I had more than everything. I thought we were rich. When I decided to go on to dental school, I picked Georgetown University. I could have gone to Ohio State for 1/4 of the cost. I could have gone to Western Reserve for 1/2 the cost. But the center of the world, I was the center of the world as far as I was concerned, and I was going to Georgetown without a thought. And my parents made sure that I went to Georgetown. The day that I came home, I went for a ride with my father. And being my egocentric self, I said, you know, I should have, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should go to medical school. And my father said to me, if you want to go to medical school, go, and I will mortgage the house again. So I feel that my success is because of my parents' success in raising me. And when I was in school, I married a girl from Amherst, and I think she's a distinguished person too, mainly because she put up with me for 33 years. And she helped me a great deal and was in on all the decision making. And I accepted a lot of wise counsel, and she raised 5 children. And one of the biggest decisions was, at the end of our Georgetown time, was where were we going to go to set up a practice? And we decided to come back to Amherst. And this was the wisest choice that we made together. And we never turned back from that. And I feel that she has helped me in our successes together. And then we get to Amherst High School and what it means to me. And at this point I become very maudlin, but it's a very meaningful. You see, I came from another school, and I came to Amherst High School in my freshman year. And I was very shy and introverted and was really nervous. And that first day, this lady in blue hair, blue eyes, blue dress, came up to me and she said, Albert, she said, I understand that you play the piano. And I started stammering there. She said, I want you to play for the assembly. Well, this was shocking to me. But no one in those days said no to Marion Steele, believe me. I didn't even know who she was, but the power that she projected was awesome. And so many teachers played so many roles in my life. As an example, Miss Murray, my French teacher, we were in Paris just 2 years ago, my wife and I, and the French came back. We could read menus, we could read street signs, we could do all kinds of things in French because of our French teacher. And every important building in Paris was described to us 35 years ago by Miss Murray. And it all came back. How exciting. And years before that, we were in Stratford, England, and we were sitting in the theater listening to a Shakespeare play, and we had 2 of our children with us. And afterward, I wrote Mrs. Eglund a note of thank you, and I wanted her to know how important her role was in me being there. And I played football. Not very well, but I learned a lot of other things from Mr. Lyle and Mr. Hudak and Mr. Wilhelm. I don't know if Mr. Hudak is here, but I want to ask him why he wore that rubber suit. It's been bothering me for a long time. And if he's not here, I'm going to call him up on the phone because I really want to know. But he taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to get up again after being knocked down, and he taught me that there are no excuses for anything. We all fail now and then, but there are no excuses. You just get up and you do it again, over and over and over again. And Mr. Towsley pounded chemistry in my head, and in those days it wasn't much fun, but it was very helpful. So my success is shared by all of these people. And they, in turn, I feel, were successful in doing their job of molding me. And I hope you young people out there will take this seriously. At this time in your lives, maybe it doesn't make much sense, but I hope that you have the feelings and the memories that I do as time goes on. And I hope that you thank the people at Amherst High School and the community for the things that they have done for you. One of my greatest joys of having a dental practice in Amherst is watching you young people grow up and do nice things. When you come in my office and I ask what you're doing, I'm really interested. And it's fun to watch you develop and choose your future. And some of you impress me a great deal. Sometimes at small gatherings or sitting around the dinner table with my wife, we become depressed about all the horrible things that are going on in the world. And we wonder about the younger generation. But I know that thousands of years ago, Socrates and the people at that time were worried about the younger generation. Then I tell my wife about the wonderful young people that came in that day and impressed me so much, and we feel good again. What is success? We know that there's a dictionary definition. Each one of us has a personal definition, and if you don't, I strongly suggest that you sit down soon and dream one up, and then develop a plan of action and go for it. I know a lot of successful people, and let me give you some examples. I have a fraternity brother who's a millionaire. And right away you say, oh sure, he had the advantage of an education, et cetera, et cetera. Not really. First of all, he slugged a policeman at one of the Ohio University parties, and he never graduated. He went to jail instead. Just a couple of years ago, he told me that he found out what was wrong with him. Now, I always knew that there was something wrong with this guy, but I said, Jay, what do you mean? He said, well, my niece is having trouble in school, and she's going through all kinds of testing and everything, and she's dyslexic. And so am I. I just found out. He says, I couldn't understand how you guys could sit around and read books. I says, Jay, come on. I says, you can't read? He said, no, I can't read. And I can barely write. Well, I knew he could barely write. He'd invert his letters and things, and I thought he was doing it to be funny, because that's the kind of guy he was. He was dyslexic. He could not read. He could barely write. He's a millionaire, and he's a millionaire because he wanted to be. Now, he was no smarter than the rest of us. He just worked harder. But also, I've known very, very successful people in the jungles of Guatemala. My wife and I saw very, very, very happy people that had nothing. And when they wanted to eat, they went into the jungle, or they went to the river and got their food. I saw a shepherd in Italy. Do you realize that we still have shepherds? They actually guard their flocks. They have their dog. And they're up in the mountains all by themselves. And everything they own is on their back. And I stopped the car. This man just impressed me so much, and we just looked at each other. And the beauty and the serenity in his eyes and in his face gave me pause to wonder. I, with all my material things, had to travel thousands of miles to see what that man saw every day. And he was truly a happy person. And I think that's what success is. I think it's a very deep inner happiness, very, very deep. You have to think very carefully about this. Am I a happy person? And if I'm a happy person, I am successful. Let me tell you one more story, and then I'll stop. My favorite story, and some of you have heard it before. Enrico Caruso, the great tenor of our time, was from near Naples, and he became very successful, as you know. And he went back to visit his hometown, and if you can picture the Bay of Naples, it's the most beautiful sight in the world. The sun is always shining. The ocean is extremely blue, matches the sky. You have these beautiful islands, and surrounding the bay are these beautiful hills and terraces. And Caruso was meandering around up there because his little village was up high overlooking this gorgeous sight. And he walked past this little ragamuffin, poor, raggedy child leaning against a stone fence. And he held out his hand and he says, "Senor, how about a penny?" And Caruso laughed and he says, "What if I don't care to give you a penny?" And the little tattered boy shrugged his shoulders. He says, "No matter, I still have the sun." Now, Caruso is successful. I think that little boy is successful. At least he has the right idea, doesn't he? So, I want you to ponder these things on what success is. I thank you, young people, for giving me my 15 minutes of fame.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Ricky Schneider, President of the Student Council, and he's inducting Mrs. Helen Boyce.
Thank you, John. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Helen Boyce into the 1995 Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. Mrs. Boyce was a member of the graduating class in 1971. She was able to perform an amazing feat by completing her high school career in 3 years. 17 years after her high school graduation, she went on to the University of South Carolina, earning a BSBA in finance, summa cum laude, also in 3 years. During that time, Mrs. Boyce carried a perfect 4.0 GPA and also took care of her 1-year-old and 3-year-old children. While in college, Mrs. Boyce took up an obsession with the excavation of Indian sites, which she performed in Georgia and South Carolina. Mrs. Boyce was employed as an air traffic controller in Lexington, Kentucky, and also Louisville, Kentucky. However, she gave up her career as an air traffic controller after that. She gave up her career as an air traffic controller. I'm sorry. After that, she moved onto a position at DuPont and Westinghouse as an accountant. In October of 1989, she moved up the corporate ladder to the position of Associate Programmer Analyst. In March of 1992, she was promoted again to her present position of Information Center Analyst, where she does end-user computer training and works with Wisdom, Windows, and other various programs. Now she is presently located at the Savannah River Company in South Carolina. Mrs. Boyce is married to another Amherst graduate, David Boyce, who is valedictorian of the class of 1966. Together they have 2 boys, Matt and Jeff. At this time, I would like to present this plaque to Mrs. Helen Boyce for her induction into the 1995 Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
So far, when we started talking about careers, I've had a number of different options. I've been an air traffic controller for approximately 5 years. I was a computer programmer. I have been a assistant sales manager for a large lumber wholesaler, and I've also been an archaeological field technician responsible for Indian excavations. Basically, all these jobs have one thing in common, and that is the fact that when I went into them, I knew it wasn't my final career choice. I have been pretty much open to suggestions. I try to try new things. I feel that if I keep my eyes open, there might be new opportunities presented to me, and I'm not afraid to jump. So I've had a number of different items in my life that some people would say that would be a full-time career. Once you learn it, you would stay with it. But I feel it's more important to pick up the pieces, get a little bit of experience, put it in my own particular resume, things I can say I've done, that I've experienced, and then go on to new things. And so I can't say I have one successful career. In fact, I wouldn't use the word successful for me. I would use the word unconventional. And basically, I think this has been the main advantage of growing up in the Amherst school system, is they have accepted with my unconditional or my unconventional information, and they've allowed me to grow as I wanted to grow, not falling into a particular mold. But I think I've had a lot of opportunities here in Amherst to grow as I want to grow and do the things I want to do. There's been a lot of decisions I've made, a lot of choices, and I feel getting a start here in the Amherst school system has made all the difference in the world as to what I have done with my life to this point. Though I assure you this is not the finished product. I'm going to be doing a lot more different things. So it's a little bit embarrassing to be asked at this time to be inducted into something where I feel that there's a lot more going to happen still. I want to thank you all. I think as I listened to Dr. Pecora's speech, I thought, well, gee, I wish I could have both his introduction and his speech. It would help me a lot. But basically, I just want to say it's okay to try new things, take risks. If you go and start one career option, it doesn't mean you have to stay, and it might be to your advantage to still shop around, keep your eyes open, and be aware that there's even a lot more out there than you presently know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Boyce. I'd like to present Doug Northeim, president of the sophomore class. He's inducting Mr. Scott Heinzerling.
Dedication, diversity, and dreams are some prime examples of Scott Heinzerling's keys to success. When Professor Heinzerling graduated from Marion Steele in 1971, he had already begun his long journey toward his dream of becoming a professional dancer and later a professional dance teacher. During his senior year at Steele, he was already attending the University of Akron to study dance on the weekends. While in high school, he was dedicated to student council, the National Honor Society, choir, tennis, band, and of course his love, ballet. Over the summer, he used his talents to help choreograph the dancing for Sandstone Summer Theater. Professor Heinzerling took his many talents and background experiences to the University of Akron, where he received his Bachelor of Arts. Later, he received his Master's of Fine Arts from the Ohio State University. Mr. Heinzerling received invaluable professional dance training while involved in the School of American Ballet and Dancers, both of which are found within the bustling boundaries of New York City. Also, the Ohio Ballet Company served as a formation point for Mr. Heinzerling's talents. Dancing has been a vehicle that has taken him to many diverse locations around the world. His national tour has included appearances in Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Michigan. His international traveling has taken him to places that most of us have only heard of or seen in pictures. These include Argentina, Uruguay, Ecuador, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, Italy, and France. Through Mr. Heinzerling's dance tours, he has been able to experience many diverse cultures and societies. Mr. Heinzerling's energy and perfection has caught national reviews on radio programs and newspapers such as the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Ballet News, the Los Angeles Times, and the New York Times. His performance of dance has allowed him to explore other areas of interest directly connected to ballet. This new area was the field of teaching and the instruction of dance. Within the last 10 years, Mr. Heinzerling has taught at the College of Wooster, the University of Akron Dance Institute, the Ohio Ballet, and the Ohio State University. Currently, he is teaching at Loyola Marymount University in California. Unfortunately, due to Professor Heinzerling's pressing fall schedule, he was not able to attend today's ceremony, but his aunt, Mrs. Joanne Haskins, will accept the award in his place. 3 factors of success for Scott Heinzerling were dedication, diversity, and dreams. Scott Heinzerling has truly achieved greatness and many accomplishments in his career field, and that can be accredited to his strong foundation, which he developed while attending the Amherst schools. One must admit that his career choice has not been the path most commonly traveled, yet he has reached a dream, which also began in Amherst. A verse from Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken, best represents Professor Heinzerling's attitude about his career choice. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. At this time, it is my pleasure to induct Scott Heinzerling into the Amherst School's Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
It is my honor to accept this plaque this morning in honor of my nephew Scott. And he would just love to be here this morning. He would love this terrific choir and seeing his classmates and the teachers, and just coming back to the school, he would just find that a thrill. I know he would love it, and I'm sorry he can't be here. He has written a speech which I will try to do justice to. Dear Marion Steele Student Council members, honored alumni, and colleagues in the teaching profession, being selected for the Amherst School's Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success is an unexpected honor and privilege. Unfortunately, my teaching responsibilities at Loyola Marymount University, Los Angeles, prevent me from attending this morning's presentation ceremony and homecoming festivities. Since I am unable to attend in person, I was asked to share some information about myself and my career choices. After 4 years in Los Angeles, an environment seemingly tempered by racial issues, public riots, curfews, alleged police brutality, drive-by shootings, earthquakes, floods, and massive fires, a return to Amherst would have definitely bolstered my faith in the compassion for humanity and trust I believe people must have for one another. I remember Amherst truly being a good place to live, a great place to learn, as your school stationery so proudly states. Growing up in Amherst provided many opportunities to develop sensibilities and sensitivities about interacting and communicating with people. I participated in the high school's organized sport programs, the band, the choir, the Sandstone Summer Theater Productions, and the Workshop Players Theater Company. Even as a young adult, training in performance, teaching, and communication seemed to have been serious pursuits in Amherst. Many Amherst school teachers became role models. They challenged and intrigued me through their sincere dedication for the performance of teaching. These people were serious and compassionate teachers who stimulated and provoked, exhilarated and animated a classroom. They communicated. As a professional dancer, my goals were quite similar. Performance is communication, and that communication must be based on desire, knowledge and discipline, compassion and honesty. A successful performance for me means that I had connected with and communicated to the audience. My teachers had become role models of communication. The presentation and the quality of their performances engaged my attention and motivated me to become an enthusiastic student. My career choices have been based on seeking goals, usually long-term goals. After graduating from Marion Steele in 1971, I entered the University of Akron. I received my BA in Fine and Applied Arts, joined the Ohio Ballet in 1973, and studied and performed dance professionally for 15 years. In 1989, I entered the Ohio State University as a fellowship recipient in the Department of Dance and began a career transformation. I once again became a student of dance, this time through an academic pursuit which included dance therapy, kinesiology, movement analysis, dance notation, dance composition, performance, dance anthropology, and dance history. I received my MFA in 1991 and moved to Los Angeles to begin my assistant professorship at Loyola Marymount University. I am presently in my 5th year of a 6-year tenure track. During my 6th year, my teaching, research scholarship, and service history will be reviewed by the university's tenure committee. Hopefully, in 1997, I will be promoted from assistant professor to associate professor of theater arts and dance. As an assistant professor in the Department of Theater Arts and Dance, I teach studio dance classes such as ballet technique, modern dancing, partnering, and variations, as well as theory dance classes in dance composition and the history of theater dance. In addition, I choreograph and direct faculty and student dance concerts and direct dance tour programs to high schools for recruitment. My professional research has been presented in the form of professional presentation of original choreographic work in theaters and universities in Los Angeles and Southern California. During the last 4 years, I have choreographed 7 original dance works, and most recently I have been accepted as one of 18 nationally selected to participate in the 1996 Carlisle Choreographer Composer Workshop. As a professional ballet dancer with Ohio Ballet and Dancers, New York City, I performed approximately 2,000 public performances throughout the United States, Europe, and Central and South America. My performing career presented challenges that helped develop physical as well as mental and emotional strengths. To succeed in the professional dance world meant accepting and facing what I call a competition of the self, an assault on the physical as well as emotional walls of perceived security. As I became more knowledgeable about the competitiveness of professional dance, I began to embrace more discriminating, self-imposed demands. Each rehearsal day in the studio became a process of defining and challenging myself through dance technique, physical endurance, and emotional risk. Could I let down my defenses and relinquish part of my ego so that I might learn to forget about myself and face challenges I had never imagined? Could I perform leading roles, and could I compete in a larger and more discriminating arena, such as New York City, Rome, or Mexico City? Basically, my professional career challenges taught me to compete with my desires and goals I had originally set, and then continue to set further goals. These challenges, as I have come to realize, are not only associated with performance in professional ballet company, or primarily located on stages and theaters. These challenges are present in our lives in many ways, in varying degrees of difficulty, and for many people seeking to succeed in their career choices. Now, as a university professor, I am intrigued more and more by people participating in the process of developing and reaching their own goals, in their involvement in the seeking and searching to communicate about who and what they will become. Dance is a very powerful vehicle for communicating. In a global sense, dance is associated with various cultural rituals and religious ceremonies, physical exercise programs, social dance forms, entertainment forms, and the fine arts such as ballet and modern dance. On a more individual nature, dance can provide the vehicle for physical and emotional development through self-discipline, self-expression, and self-discovery. Body language many times speaks directly and concisely. Every day I learn something new about people through their actions, through their movement, through dance. A career in dance wasn't exactly considered mainstream in Amherst, but my family, friends, and teachers throughout junior high and high school had encouraged me to continue. Somewhere, somehow, someone was broadcasting and communicating the message, individuality. Like most graduating high school seniors, I went through some pretty heavy searching. What's next? What do I do well, and what do I like? Some of the answers were evident: acting, dancing, studying, communicating, and excellent teaching. Some of the answers I learned along the way: being open to change through happenstance, circumstance, indeterminacy, and a multiplicity of centers, the development of a personal postmodern no manifesto based on an educated rebellion, acknowledging mistakes and recognizing the power of respect and humility, and also having the courage to follow an intuitive voice that says, "You're right, trust yourself." What I do understand at this moment in life is that the process of becoming who I am continues to evolve. My understanding of success has been based on communication and performance. Dance has become my vehicle for communication, and through the dance I will continue to communicate my life's process, the work, the frustration, the joy, and the success. Once again, I thank you for this honor and privilege. Scott Heinzerling.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Shannon Mazur, senior class rep, who is inducting Dr. Nancy Conrady.
Today, I have the honor of inducting Mrs. Nancy Jean Conrady into the Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. Dr. Conrady has proven herself to be well-deserving of this nomination. Graduating from Marion Steele in 1976 was only the stepping stone for her many achievements to come. After high school, Dr. Conrady earned a scholarship that enabled her to study abroad in an undergraduate ATA program at the Institut Université des Technologies, which was in Nancy, France. Then she received the Master Award for her achievements in the study of French. Dr. Conrady pursued this and became an interpreter for clients of co-manufacturing company. In her spare time studying German, she initiated the alternate undergraduate academic team abroad program at the Lessing College in Marburg, Germany. In 1980, Dr. Conrady received a German Book Award for Excellence in Advanced German. She moved on to become the founder of the Aviation Club of Lake Erie College after receiving a Bachelor of Arts degree with a double major in both French and German. 1 year later, Dr. Conrady was selected to receive the Fulbright Scholarship, which sent her to Reims, France, to teach English at the Jean Jaurès High School and furthermore at the Chamber of Commerce. While in France, she became a member of the Cathedral Choir for Enjoyment. While returning to the United States, Dr. Conrady received her Master's of Arts degree at Middlebury College. Then, while studying French at the University of Michigan in the Department of Romance Languages, she was also an instructor at a residential college in Advanced French. Other teaching experience was held at the College of Worcester, teaching French once again. Not long after, in 1986, Dr. Conrady became a consultant at the Department of Educational Affairs and became the author of Educational Profile in Haiti. She was also a major contributor to the books Educational Deficits in Latin America and Education of 1984 to 1985 OAS Education Projects. 2 years ago, Dr. Conrady was the assistant professor of French at John Carroll University, teaching French grammar, composition and conversation, business, and literary analysis. That same year, she became a member of the UN Organization of American States International Civilian Mission to travel to Haiti. Her job in the UN included the operation of Radio Communications Network and supervising the language training program. Dr. Conrady still enjoys trips to Haiti with her church. For these past 10 years, Dr. Conrady has worked every summer to achieve her PhD in modern languages. She completed a book on Haitian literature in Haitian Creole and also worked hard in numerous areas and has just recently achieved that long hoped for PhD this past August. Not only has this past year involved long, hard hours with the school, but many hard hours with her family too. Dr. Conrady married Dennis Therese, a lawyer who is also talented in languages, being able to speak 3 himself. Dr. Conrady chose to keep her last name in marriage. The two of them recently had their first child 5 months ago and named her Catherine. When Dr. Conrady is not busy with work, the baby, or her husband, she enjoys time with herself doing taekwondo, cross-country skiing, and is also a licensed private pilot. Now that Dr. Conrady has her doctorate, her future plans include writing novels in French and working in the UN Human Rights Group, translating and teaching. She has many teaching options by being able to speak English, French, German, Haitian Creole, Latin, and Spanish. From speaking to Dr. Conrady just a few times, I can see what a modest and unselfish person she is and how much she deserves all she has accomplished. So now it is my privilege to honor Dr. Conrady by giving her this plaque that states her induction to the Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
Thank you very much, Shannon. That was quite an introduction. And I'd also like to thank the other student council members. This is really quite a thrill for me. When I was trying to think of what I might talk to you about this morning, I have to admit that I was thinking immediately of 3 Fs. Now, when I say 3 Fs, I don't mean Fs on a report card. Don't be worried about that. In fact, I was thinking that the subjects I wanted to talk to you about were faculty and family and foreign languages. Let me start out today with faculty. First of all, I think as a student at Steele High School, I had the good idea that the faculty was quite good. But in fact, looking back on those years and being a teacher myself, I realized they were nothing short of excellent. So it's a real pleasure for me today to look out among you and I see past faculty members, some that I had the pleasure of studying with, others I did not, and I also see current faculty members.
So let me just say on behalf of your former students, and I hope I can speak also for current students, thank you very much for your dedication, both in the classroom and outside the classroom. You certainly have inspired us all with your dedication. Now, my second F today is going to stand for family. My family was always very supportive of anything I endeavored, and I think that's made all the difference in any success, any small success that I've managed to achieve over the years. For example, a couple examples here. First of all, my father. My father was very kind enough to say, when I came to him with the maybe outrageous project of wanting to learn to fly, my father, who is a pilot himself, handed me the airplane keys. I think that was very courageous of him, very kind of him, and it said to me, go ahead and do it. Let me also thank today my mother. When I went to my mother with perhaps also an outrageous idea, I wanted to go to France and live there alone for several years. I think many parents would have been a bit concerned. In fact, my mother was so excited about the project that she even jumped on an airplane twice and came to visit me, and we traveled around Europe and really enjoyed ourselves quite a bit. My third family member would be my husband, Dennis. Dennis has been extremely encouraging over the years. I think the first example of that was when we were still dating, and at that time I had the idea to go to Haiti. Now, Haiti is quite a troubled country, as we all know. We see it in the news all the time. Back then, it was especially difficult. There was a military dictator in power, and things were very much unstable. But my husband, Dennis, said, I think this is a great idea. I think it's going to really be a good possibility for you, and I think you should do it. So I have to thank my husband. Now, another family member I would like to thank is my 6-month-old baby, Catherine. I had the project, or the goal of finishing my doctoral dissertation this summer. And in fact, Catherine was being expected right about in April. Well, I decided I better move up my dissertation date and plan to finish before the baby came along. In fact, Catherine had the goodness to wait to be born until less than a week after my dissertation was completed. So I also have to thank that 6-month-old baby, Catherine. By the way, this 6-month-old baby is not the one that you heard crying recently who had to be removed, because my baby would never do such a thing. This is someone else's baby, and someone else's mother had to take the baby out several times. Not my baby. Now, my third F for today, as I mentioned, is foreign language. Foreign language. Now, foreign languages have allowed me to do what I consider to be very many interesting and challenging things over the years. Let me just ask the students out there, how many of you are currently studying a foreign language or have previously studied a foreign language? Let's see some hands here. Wonderful. That's terrific. Very, very good. Now, notice, did you hear during Dr. Pecora's talk, he was explaining how important it was to him when he was in France to have actually been able to speak French. I think you should all take note of that. This is a good thing. It's wonderful for a foreign language teacher to hear that sort of experience being expressed. You know, you don't need to be a language major to benefit from having studied a foreign language. That's clear. And another part of my message today is that if you are a foreign language major, I hope there are some among you there when you go off to college, but you don't have to necessarily teach. There are many other options open to you, and I'd like to tell you about some of those options today. For example, knowing a foreign language allowed me to work as a college student, allowed me to work as an interpreter for a local company. This was a wonderful opportunity for me. It was definitely more interesting than waiting tables or flipping burgers at the time. This is an option. Foreign languages also qualified me to receive a Fulbright scholarship to France. I lived there for 3 years, and knowing French allowed me to move easily among the French people, whether in working environment or a personal environment. Only knowing French qualified me for that sort of an honor. Keep that in mind as well. Knowing a foreign language has also allowed me to move in other French-speaking countries. For example, Quebec, or Martinique, Guadeloupe, and finally in Haiti. Now, in Haiti, what started out as a tourist trip turned into something which has been sort of a professional passion of mine over the last 11 years. You never know when one option is going to lead you to something which is actually life-altering. In this case, Haiti was that for me. Knowing a foreign language also allowed me to go to Washington, D.C. and work with an international organization, the Organization of American States. Being a speaker of French allowed me to work on projects in Haiti, learn a lot more about the developing world, and in fact learn about the third world and projects that we do there. It was quite a great opportunity, in fact. Finally, knowing a foreign language is what permitted me to join the United Nations on the International Civilian Mission to Haiti as a human rights observer. You had to know a foreign language to be included in that mission. And I was lucky enough to be chosen as one of 76 people from around the world to observe human rights at a very important time in Haiti. This is when the military dictatorship was being ousted and the president, the democratically elected president, was being brought into the country. So one more option as a foreign language speaker. Now let me just kind of wrap up today by saying and reminding you one more time, go out and learn those foreign languages. It's very, very important. If you haven't yet learned a foreign language, consider it. Consider signing up for a class. Even 1 year of a foreign language can really make a difference in your education. If you are a student of foreign language, then I need to speak to you right now in Haitian Creole. And that is to say to you, Kembe palage. Kembe palage. And what that means is, hang in there, don't give up, give it your best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Conrady. Now Carrie Kaufman, the junior class secretary, will give her induction for Mrs. Deborah McHale.
Being inducted into this year's Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success is yet another addition to a list of accomplishments for Mrs. Deborah Lynn McHale. Mrs. McHale attended Amherst schools and graduated from Amherst in 1976. After graduation, Deborah McHale attended M.B. Johnson's School of Nursing and graduated co-valedictorian with her nursing diploma in 1979. She went on to receive her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Bowling Green State University in 1983 and her Master's of Science in Nursing from Wayne State University in 1985. Along with the stress and hard work of school, she maintained the position as a critical care staff nurse, nurse manager, and clinical nurse specialist throughout her 16-year nursing program. Mrs. McHale has been employed at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia since 1988. As a staff development coordinator for the critical care units at the hospital, her duties include preparing nurses through educational classes for critical care units. She currently is a clinical instructor in the College of Allied Health Sciences at Thomas Jefferson University. She's responsible for coordinating educational programs for the community, student nurses, and experienced nurses, physicians. Mrs. McHale also works as a staff nurse in the surgical intensive care unit to maintain her clinical expertise. She has designed a comprehensive educational program for patients having cardiac surgery. She has developed a critical care flow sheet for use in all 13 critical care units. She has served as a clinical adjunct faculty for numerous university graduate student nurses. She has developed a women's health line as a resource for the community to access a nurse for medical health advice. She has served on numerous committees, including the Hospital Committee on Ethics, and she teaches ethics at Thomas Jefferson Medical College. Mrs. McHale was elected and had the honor of serving a 3-year term on the National Board of Directors to the American Association of Critical Care Nurses in 1991. This voluntary position required extensive committee participation, speaking, and traveling throughout the United States. She was elected president of the Southeast Michigan chapter of the American Association of Critical Care Nurses in 1986. She is also a member of Sigma Theta Tau and the American Heart Association.
Mrs. McHale has been recognized in Who's Who in American Nursing since its 1986 edition. In 1988, she traveled to Czechoslovakia, Sweden, and Norway to speak on the role of the clinical nurse specialist in critical care nursing in America. She was one of a select group of nurses chosen to represent the United States in this international exchange. In 1994, she was invited by the White House to assist with speaking engagements related to healthcare reform. She's attended White House briefings to assist with these endeavors. Mrs. McHale has the opportunity to share her knowledge in numerous publications. She is credited with publications in the Critical Care Nursing Journal, Journal of Heart and Lung, and Nursing 95, just to name a few. She also serves on the editorial board of the prestigious Journal of Cardiovascular Nursing. As a successful career woman, it is hard to find time to do things you enjoy. However, Mrs. McHale finds time to participate in many of her favorite hobbies, including skiing, rollerblading, quilting, and sewing. Not only is she active in these hobbies, she also has time to take care of her family and raise her 2-year-old daughter. Deborah McHale represents an unusually successful career woman, an individual with a conscience for the well-being of others and the ability to balance all aspects of her life. All of these attributes, along with her own diverse hobbies, makes Mrs. McHale a very accomplished, personable, and unique lady. So on behalf of the Student Council, faculty, and students at Marion, Steele, I proudly present Mrs. Deborah Lynn McHale this plaque as a remembrance of her induction into the 1995 Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to thank the Student Council for selecting me as a member of the Gallery of Success. It certainly is a great honor. I'd like to thank my sister, Kathy Krieger, for nominating me for this very distinguished award. I know many of the students out there are trying to decide what to do with the rest of your life. I know when I was 15, 16, 17, people kept asking me, what are you going to do after high school? What are you going to do? And I kept thinking, I have no idea. I can't believe I have to make this decision. And I'm so young, and I'm not ready for this, and I really wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. It's a very difficult decision for me. Once I gave it a lot of thought, one thing that I decided is that I wanted to help people. Very simple. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how I would do it, but I at least had a very simple thought, a very simple vision that I wanted to help people. What helped me is I volunteered at the Amherst Hospital as a volunteer, and that gave me the opportunity to work in the hospital, to work with patients, to work with nurses, to work with physicians, and be a part of healthcare, and then help to kind of solidify what I wanted to do. And I selected nursing as the career for me to help me, again, meet that vision that I have had of helping people. So I went to MD Johnson, as Carrie said, and Bowling Green State University. Most of my focus has been taking care of critically ill patients, specifically patients with heart problems, patients having heart attacks, and having to have cardiac surgery. I love taking care of patients. I loved it then, and I still love it today when I can fit it into my schedule, because I think that's really where it's at, is being at the bedside and meeting patient needs and their family needs, and I like making that difference that I can make every day. But it didn't seem to be enough for me. I took care of my patients and felt okay about that, but felt like I needed to do more and I had more to offer. So I got involved in the unit. I got involved in unit task force and unit committees, and I tried to influence the care of all the patients on that particular unit. And that was okay for a while, but then that didn't quite seem enough. I seemed to needed to get involved a little bit more, so I volunteered for hospital committees, and I managed to get my way on a few medical committees, which for a nurse can be a little challenging to do that. And I tried to have an impact on the care of patients throughout their hospital stay and even going into the home setting. And that was very rewarding for me. And then, as Carrie said, I had the privilege of serving on my professional association on their board of directors, and that's the American Association of Critical Care Nurses. It was a 3-year term, which Carrie did say I traveled quite a bit for. I had a marvelous opportunity to meet a lot of nurses and patients throughout the country, and I really tried to the best of my ability to influence the care of patients from a national perspective, looking at educational needs for nurses, looking at research needs for nurses and patients, and collaborating with other colleagues, including respiratory therapists, lab technicians, physicians, pastoral care, and all the people, social workers, that really have an impact on patient care and helping to keep patients healthy. So it's been a marvelous career for me, and I've loved absolutely every minute of it. And I said, I do try and still maintain my clinical component and stay active at the bedside, which to me is really important to make a difference. There's no better compliment for me than to have a patient or a family say, are you going to be my nurse tomorrow? Because you know you've done a good job, and you get a lot of daily satisfaction in nursing. Well, what helped me along the way? A lot of things certainly did help me along the way. One of them was my vision, my real simple vision that I wanted to help people and that I wanted to make a difference. And I just kept making that bigger and bigger, but my focus always was I really wanted to help patients, and I wanted to help people who were critically ill at a time that was a very vulnerable period for them. Another thing that helped me was having self-confidence. I always thought I could do it. I always thought that I could make a difference, and that one person could make a difference, and I strongly believe that one person can make a difference. What else helped me? Another thing that helped me was my education here at the Amherst school system. I think the faculty were absolutely fantastic, and I'm excited to see some past faculty come back, because I had some of them as early mentors and have continued to help me. Some of the lessons I learned long ago, I continue to still pull back and use today in my present career and in my teaching career with nurses. My education provided an instrumental foundation for me in going forward into academics and then into my career. Another thing that hasn't been mentioned today, but was very helpful for me, was my participation in sports here in Amherst. I was very active, and as I continue to be very athletic, and I was then. I wasn't a stellar athlete, but I was active in the girls basketball team, I was active in the girls volleyball team, and on the girls track team. And I learned some very valuable lessons on being active in sports. The first thing that I learned is winning is a fantastic accomplishment. And I am going to the game tomorrow night, and I'm expecting to see a winner tomorrow night, so hopefully we'll win. But it is truly a fantastic accomplishment. The other thing that I learned from being active in sports is that losing is a part of the game. And that usually we can all learn something by a loss. And it really is part of life. And it helps us move on, and it helps us learn, and it helps us continue to grow and develop. Lastly, with sports, but I think most importantly, what I learned is that sports help you to work within a team. And it truly helps you understand how important a team is, because you really can't make it anywhere in life, and you can't do anything if you're not an effective member of a team. And I learned that early on by my participation in sports, and it's been very true in my entire career. You really can't do anything by yourself. You have to do it together, and you have to work really well as a team. Well, lastly, what helped me along my career is the ever-present and ongoing support of my family and my friends, and many of my family are here today. And I'm very proud to have their support. My family haven't always understand why I've done things. Why do I volunteer for so much? Why do I do so much? Why do I travel so much? Why do I keep wanting to climb that ladder higher and higher? And they have not always understood that, but what they have done is always provided me the support and the encouragement that I've needed, and have always given me the pat on the back when I've needed it, and have always been there for me when I've needed them. In conclusion, I'd like to say to the students, each and every one of you can do whatever you put your mind to. Each and every one of you have great potential. You need to have that vision. Remember, I started with a very simple vision that I wanted to help people. So you need to give some serious thought to what is your vision, what do you want to do, and as Nancy said, what do you really enjoy doing? And give that some very serious thought when you're looking forward. I wish you the best of luck as you work towards achieving your vision and towards your future success. Thank you.
Rich Bakke will now do the closing speech.
On behalf of Student Council, I'd like to congratulate and thank the inductees for being here. And I'd also like to thank all of you for sharing this special moment with us. Students who are returning to Steele, please remain seated until the buses arrive. Also, students who are attending the luncheon, It will be held in the Media Center when we return to Steele. I hope everyone can attend the homecoming game tomorrow night as we host Rocky River. Thank you from everyone for making this year's Gallery of Success special.